2. Creation and Fallout. Victor Frankenstein. It was on a dreary night of November that I beheld the accomplishment of my toils. With an anxiety that almost amounted to agony, I collected the instruments of life around me, that I might infuse a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lay at my feet. It was already 1 in the morning. The rain pattered dismally against the panes, and my candle was nearly burnt out, when, by the glimmer of the half-extinguished light, I saw the dull, yellow eye of the creature open. It breathed hard, and a convulsive motion agitated its limbs. How can I describe my emotions at this catastrophe, or how delineate the wretch whom with such infinite pains and care I had endeavoured to form? His limbs were in proportion, and I had selected his features as beautiful. Beautiful! Great God! His yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of a pearly whiteness. But these luxuriances only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes, that seemed almost of the same colour as the dun white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion, and straight black lips. The different accidents of life are not so changeable as the feelings of human nature. I had worked hard for nearly 2 years, for the sole purpose of infusing life into an inanimate body. For this, I had deprived myself of rest and health. I had desired it with an ardour that far exceeded moderation. But now that I had finished, the beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart. Unable to endure the aspect of the being I had created, I rushed out of the room and continued a long time traversing my bedchamber, unable to compose my mind to sleep. At length, I threw myself on the bed in my clothes, endeavouring to seek a few moments of forgetfulness, but it was in vain. I slept indeed, but I was disturbed by the wildest dreams. I thought I saw Elizabeth, in the bloom of health, walking in the streets of Ingolstadt. Delighted and surprised, I embraced her, but as I imprinted the first kiss on her lips, they became livid with the hue of death. Her features appeared to change, and I thought that I held the corpse of my dead mother in my arms. A shroud enveloped her form, and I saw the grave worms crawling in the folds of the flannel. I started from my sleep with horror. A cold dew covered my forehead, my teeth chattered, and every limb became convulsed, when, by the dim and yellow light of the moon, as it forced its way through the window shutters, I beheld the wretch, the miserable monster whom I had created. He held up the curtain of the bed, and his eyes, if eyes they may be called, were fixed on me. His jaws opened, and he muttered some inarticulate sounds, while a grin wrinkled his cheeks. He might have spoken, but I did not hear. One hand was stretched out, seemingly to detain me, but I escaped and rushed downstairs. I took refuge in the courtyard belonging to the house which I inhabited, where I remained during the rest of the night, walking up and down in the greatest agitation, listening attentively, catching and fearing each sound, as if it were to announce the approach of the demoniacal corpse to which I had so miserably given life. Oh, no mortal could support the horror of that countenance. A mummy, again endued with animation, could not be so hideous as that wretch. I had gazed on him while unfinished. He was ugly then, but when those muscles and joints were rendered capable of motion, it became a thing such as even Dante could not have conceived. I passed the night wretchedly. Sometimes my pulse beat so quickly and hardly that I felt the palpitation of every artery. At others, I nearly sank to the ground through languor and extreme weakness. Mingled with this horror, I felt the bitterness of disappointment. Dreams that had been my food and pleasant rest for so long now became a hell to me, and the change was so rapid, the overthrow so complete. Morning, dismal and wet, at length dawned. I left the house and took my way towards the inn. I scarcely knew why I went thither, except that I instinctively sought relief in change of place and scenery. My eyes wandered on the vacant chairs, and I felt a kind of panic on perceiving no trace of the monster. I feared yet dared not go back to my rooms. I had no companion, no friend, except one whom I had not seen for many months and did not expect to encounter. As I stood in the street, a stagecoach drew up near the inn, and a person alighted. It was Henry Clerval. Nothing could equal my delight on seeing him. I grasped his hand, and in a moment forgot my horror and despair. "Clerval, beloved friend," I exclaimed. "How kind, how very good to see you. But you seem to be ill, Frankenstein. You are pale, and your eyes have a wildness I do not understand. Have you been ill, my dear Victor?" I replied in a faltering voice, "Yes, I have been very ill, and am still weak. But I rejoice to see you." "I came up to your lodgings," said Henry, "but they were locked, and no one appeared to be within. I thought it better to seek you at the inn. But pray tell me, Victor, what is the matter?" "I cannot answer you now," I said. "I feel overwhelmed. Come with me to my apartment, and you will see." We entered my apartment. The first thing that struck my eyes was the disorder of the laboratory. The tables were overturned, the instruments shattered, but the creature was gone. The traces of its departure were faint, and I breathed again. Henry, seeing my agitated countenance, took the key from my trembling hand, opened the door of the chamber, and entered. It was empty. The remains of the instruments, the scattered limbs of unfinished work, all were there. But the being I had created had vanished. "Good God, Victor, what is the meaning of this?" he asked. I could not answer. I sank on a chair, covering my face with my hands. "My dear Frankenstein," said Henry, "do not trouble yourself with explaining. Let us leave this miserable place." Clerval made every effort to soothe me. He removed the instruments of science and replaced them with books of poetry and gentle amusements. But the form of the monster haunted me day and night. My health rapidly declined. I became feverish and restless. For many months, I was confined by a nervous illness that threatened my life. Henry nursed me with the tenderness of a devoted brother. He gave up his time to me with the kindest attention, watching over me as a mother watches her child. During all this time, I received no letters from my family. I longed to hear from them, but I was too weak to write. Henry refrained from speaking of Geneva or my relations, for he saw that the subject distressed me. My mind was filled with the dread of what I had done, and I could not bear the mention of home. At length, I began to recover. My strength returned slowly, and my mind cleared. The oppressive darkness that had overshadowed my thoughts began to lift. But I was not the same man. The hopes of youth, the ambition that had driven me to my dreadful experiment, these were gone. I was haunted by remorse. Henry proposed a journey to the country. I agreed, hoping that a change of scene might restore my peace of mind. We set off together, and for the first time in many months, I felt the fresh air in my lungs and a glimmer of joy in my heart. But even then, the shadow of the creature followed me. It was never far from my thoughts, a spectre born of my own ambition, destined to walk the earth.